Hello, welcome back to Book Nerd TV. Today is another one of those book haul situations, and we're doing a book haul for many reasons. Well, the main reason is because I love to buy books. It's the main reason. It's really the only reason. I am also in the process of building, well, maybe I should say in the process of planning for the construction of my library, my home library. So I'm looking forward to that, and I'm, of course, in anticipation, purchasing all of the books. And reason number 3 is, unfortunately, one of the big box bookstores here in the local area is closing. And I decided, well, let me go look to see what they have. You know, when they start talking 30 to 70% off, you know, I'm paying attention. You have my attention. But first, before I get to the books that I purchased from the bookstore that is closing, I ordered 2 books from Amazon. The first book up is The Haunting of Tramcar 15. This is a book by the author Djeli Clark, who also wrote The War God's Drum. I think it's The War God's Drum, but I'll make sure that I get the title correct on a little crawl or something here. And that book is on my to-read list, or my to-be-read list. I'm not sure how I came across The Haunting of Tramcar 15. I read a short synopsis of it somewhere, and I thought this sounded really good. And this is a story that takes place in a reimagined Egypt, Cairo, Egypt in 1912. So it's not this timeline, it's a different timeline where there are sentient automatons, where there exists a ministry of alchemy, there exists sort of these disembodied spirits, and all of this is happening in this steampunkish kind of world, and it just seemed really, really interesting. And it's located in a place in Cairo, Egypt in 1912 that is not something that I've read before. And since I'm trying to expand my reading repertoire across the board, whether it's fiction, science fiction, fantasy, my nonfiction, this is one of those books that seemed really very interesting, and I'm really excited about reading it. Next up is Let's Talk About Love by Kann. This is a book that I read about maybe last year sometimes. I was looking for books about asexuals or ace identity, and this was one of the few books that came up when I looked for something about the asexual identity. And the benefit, the lagniappe, as it were, is that it's about an African-American woman. And so this is a story about a young lady who is bisexual, but also identifies as asexual. And you know, she's broken up with one person, and so she's sort of a meet cute of somebody new, and still she's falling in love, and sort of what happens when she meets a new person, and how does she reveal her identities, and sort of how will they respond to her identities. So it's just something that I don't run across very often. And I am, of course, as I've said before, very excited to read this book. Okay, so now we're up to the books that I purchased from the big box store that's closing in my metro area, as it were. And I'm not really going to talk a lot about these books because, one, they're all backlist. You've heard of them, you've seen people give reviews or impressions or just discuss these books. So I'm not going to do that here. If one of them really strikes me as like wonderful and amazing, I'll go ahead and maybe do like an impression / review video about them. But otherwise, because there are so many of them, I mean, not like a crazy amount, but like a lot, I'm going to be very brief. Number 1 on the pile is The Brief Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde. I've wanted this book for a while now. I heard about it years ago. I heard about Junot Diaz years ago. And this is my first book that I've purchased by Diaz. It is also the first book that I will have read by Diaz. And this is, per the cover, a signed copy. Now, I'm not sure how a signed copy ends up on as a bargain book, but I mean, works for me. Turtles All the Way Down by John Green is the next book. So John Green is one of the Vlog brothers, if I'm not mistaken. Him and his very cute younger brother. They have the Vlog brothers on YouTube. So I knew of him as a vlog producer or a YouTube producer before I knew of him as a writer, as an author. And I know Looking for Alaska, Searching for Alaska, something about Alaska, I don't know. Anyway, was one of the books that people really loved by him. And I thought, well, I mean, you know, I'm interested in the content that he produces for YouTube. So maybe I'll enjoy one of his books. And so this is Turtles All the Way Down. I like it because of the reference to Discworld and Terry Pratchett. So the next book is Illuminae by Amie Kaufman and Kristoff. This book is experimental in nature for how the book was written and the fact that I'm reading it. I am a very standard person as far as prose. I really don't. I just like, just tell me the story. Don't play with the format. Don't get too, you know, flashbacks annoy me sometimes. Okay, so so Illuminae is going to be a challenge for me because Illuminae is not written in a way that is standard to tell the story. So I don't know if the light is helping me or hurting. The text is very different from what I'm used to, and I don't know if you can see this. There's a lot of light hitting this page, but it's just told in a way that it is just a very different. The text is very different. It's not just your standard text at all. It looks like, I think one of the protagonists is a hacker, and they sort of hack into this computer system to try to figure out what's going on. And I think that some of the way the text is written is to follow the text that she finds when she breaks into this system. So I have no idea. Someone that I watch, and I watch so many people sometimes, I just don't really pay attention to who's telling me about a book or whatever. I will remember the book. I'm fairly sure it's someone I subscribe to. Couldn't tell you who it is, but I thought, oh, that sounds interesting. And so the book is on sale for $5. Of course I'm going to take a chance. If it's horrible, I can always give it away, right? I mean, let's be clear. I'm not going to give it away, but I mean, in theory, I could give it away because when I buy books, I keep books. So there's that. Oh, right. Short synopsis of the story. Takes place in the far future. Our protagonist is a young lady who is caught on a planet or planetoid that's being attacked. She escapes via a ship that then itself starts to experience all kinds of problems. And the one person that she didn't want to rely on, her ex-boyfriend, is one, along for the ride, and two, the person that she'll have to go to help her figure out blah, 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 what's going on. So anyway, again, not necessarily a trope that I love, but sometimes these things can be well done, and I'm hoping that that is the case for Illuminae. You know how when you see a book and the cover is just very interesting, and then you see that the author is an author that you really enjoy, and you buy the book because the book is on sale for like $5, and then you get it home and you're like, ooh, what is it actually about? And you realize that it's book 2 in a series, and you don't have book 1 because you didn't pay attention to the fact that it was book 2 in the bookstore. I mean, that happens to you all, right? I'm sure. Anyway, since this is a book 2, there's not a lot that I'm going to say other than The Grace of Kings is the first book in the series. Wall of Storms, second book in the series. You know, this is kind of how I did Attica Locke, because I read Heaven My Home, the second book of the Highway 59 trilogy. So then I just recently read Bluebird, and I was not disappointed in any way, shape, or form. It's just that this is a habit I really want to break out of. Book 1 first, then book 2, then the rest of the series.